I'm 94 years old. My name is Eleanor Whitmore. I've been on this earth since 1931. I've survived the Depression, World War II, the Cold War, 9 decades of human foolishness and occasional grace. I've buried a husband, 2 sisters, my parents, most of my friends, and God help me, one of my children. My hands shake when I hold a coffee cup. My vision is failing. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I can remember with perfect clarity the exact moment I made the worst mistake of my life. And before I leave this world, because I will, soon, the doctors have made that abundantly clear. I need to tell you about it. Not because I want your pity, not because I need absolution, but because I see you making the same mistake right now. I see it in your eyes, in your choices, in the way you move through the world like you have forever. You don't. Let me take you back to 1968. I was 37 years old. My daughter Rebecca was 8. She had this way of looking at me, eyes wide, full of trust, like I hung the moon and painted the stars. She would come into the kitchen every morning before school, pull out the chair next to me, and ask, "Mama, can we talk?" And I would say, "Not now, sweetheart. Mama's busy." I was always busy. I worked as a secretary at a law firm downtown. Back then, that was something. A woman with a real job, bringing home real money. I was proud of it. My husband Frank worked construction, and between us, we were building something, a life, security, a future. So when Rebecca asked me to talk, I was balancing the checkbook. When she asked me to play, I was preparing dinner. When she asked me to read her a story, I was ironing Frank's work shirts for the week. "Not now, sweetheart. Mama's busy." She stopped asking when she was 12. Just stopped. I didn't even notice at first. Isn't that remarkable? Your child stops reaching for you, and you're so buried in your own importance that you don't see the distance growing between you like a canyon. By the time she was 16, Rebecca and I were strangers living in the same house. She had her world, her music, her friends, her secrets, and I had mine. We passed each other in hallways. We sat at the same dinner table in silence. We existed in parallel universes that never touched. I told myself it was normal. Teenagers pull away. They need independence. She'll come back when she's older. That was the lie I used to excuse my absence. Rebecca left for college in 1978. University of Washington, all the way across the country. I helped her pack. I drove her to the airport. I hugged her goodbye, and she felt stiff in my arms, like hugging a stranger. She called home once a month. Dutiful calls, surface-level calls. "How are you, Mom?" "Fine, dear. How are your classes?" "Good." Long pauses. Nothing real, nothing deep. She graduated in 1982. She got a job in Seattle. She met a man named David. She married him in a small ceremony at a courthouse. She didn't even tell me until 2 weeks after it happened. She said she didn't want to make a fuss. What she meant was, you weren't there when I needed you, so I learned not to need you. She had children. 2 beautiful boys. My grandchildren, I saw them maybe once a year, if that. Brief visits, awkward conversations. Those boys didn't know me. Why would they? I was just the old woman who sent birthday cards with checks inside. Frank died in 1995. Heart attack. Sudden. I called Rebecca to tell her. She came to the funeral. She stayed 2 days. We barely spoke. What was there to say? We had spent 30 years not talking. You can't suddenly find words when someone dies. After Frank's funeral, Rebecca and I were standing in my kitchen, the same kitchen where she used to pull out that chair and ask if we could talk. She was 35 years old then, a woman, a mother, a stranger. She looked at me, and for just a moment, I saw that 8-year-old girl again, those wide eyes, that need for connection. She said, "Mom, I've been angry at you for a very long time." I felt my spine straighten, my defenses rise. I said, "Angry? What on earth for? I gave you everything. I worked myself to the bone to give you a good life." She looked at me with something like sadness, like pity. She said, "You gave me everything except you." Then she left. We didn't speak for 3 years after that. 3 years of silence, of stubbornness, of pride. I told myself she was being ungrateful, unfair. Didn't she understand the sacrifices I'd made? But late at night, alone in that house, I knew. I knew she was right. I knew I had traded her childhood for a checkbook. I had traded her trust for clean shirts and balanced accounts. I had traded connection for the illusion of security. I finally called her in 1998. I was 67 years old. I said, Rebecca, I'm sorry, you were right. I was never there. I was so afraid of not having enough that I never stopped to see I already had everything. There was a long silence on the phone. Then she said, thank you for saying that. We started rebuilding, slowly, carefully, like two people learning a new language together. She would call more often. I would visit Seattle. I got to know my grandsons. I went to their baseball games, their school plays. I tried to be the grandmother I hadn't been able to be as a mother. It wasn't perfect. You can't erase 3 decades of absence with a few years of presence, but it was something. It was real. Then, in 2019, Rebecca got sick, ovarian cancer, stage 4 by the time they found it. She fought for 2 years. I moved to Seattle to be with her. I sat beside her hospital bed. I held her hand through chemotherapy. I was finally there. She died on a Tuesday morning in March 2021. She was 60 years old. I was holding her hand when she took her last breath. And do you know what her last words to me were? She squeezed my hand. She looked at me with those eyes still wide, still trusting, even after everything. And she whispered, I'm glad we got these last years, Mama. Not, I'm glad we had a lifetime. Just these last years, because that's all we had. A few years at the end. A few years of what could have been 5 decades of deep, beautiful, connected relationship. I'm 94 years old now. I've lived 23 years longer than my daughter, and I would trade every single one of those years, every day, every hour, every breath, for just one more morning in that kitchen in 1968 when an 8-year-old girl pulled out a chair and asked, Mama, can we talk? And this time I would say yes. I would put down the checkbook. I would turn off the stove. I would let the shirts wrinkle and the bills wait and the whole world stop spinning for as long as she needed, because none of it mattered. None of it. The balanced budget, the iron shirts, the carefully maintained household, it was all dust. It's all gone. The only thing that mattered was her. The only thing I should have protected was the relationship, and I threw it away for things that didn't matter. So here's what I need you to hear. You who are young, you who still have time, you who still have people who want to pull out chairs and talk to you. Stop. Whatever you're doing that feels so urgent, so important, so necessary, stop. Look at who's in front of you. Look at who's asking for your attention. Look at who's reaching for you. They won't reach forever. I don't care how important your work is. I don't care how busy you are. I don't care how many responsibilities you're juggling. None of it, and I mean none of it, is more important than the people who love you. Your child will only be 8 years old once. Your partner will only want to talk about their day for so long before they stop trying. Your parents will only be here for a finite number of years. Your friends will only reach out so many times before they accept that you're too busy. And one day, you will look up from whatever seems so urgent, and everyone will be gone, or changed, or distant. And you will realize that you traded presence for productivity. You traded connection for accomplishment. You traded love for a to-do list. And you cannot get it back. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but I have to work. I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. Yes, you do. I did too. But here's what I learned too late. You can meet your responsibilities without sacrificing your relationships. You can work hard without working always. You can be productive without being absent. It's not about quitting your job or abandoning your ambitions. It's about priority. It's about presence. When someone you love asks for your time, that is not an interruption. That is your life. That is what you're here for. The work will always be there. The emails will always need answering. The tasks will always multiply. But the people, they won't always be there. They won't always be asking. They won't always be reaching. I have money in the bank. Not a fortune, but enough. You know what I would pay, what I would give for one more conversation with my daughter? For one more morning in that kitchen? For one more chance to say yes instead of not now? Everything. I would pay everything. But there is no price that buys back time. There is no amount of money that resurrects missed moments. There is no currency that purchases presence after the person is gone. I'm not here to make you feel guilty. Guilt is useless. I'm here to wake you up before it's too late. Before you become like me, an old woman sitting alone in a house full of regrets, waiting to die so I can apologize to my daughter in whatever comes next. Don't let work become your excuse for absence. Don't let busyness become your justification for distance. Don't let fear of not having enough cause you to lose everything that matters. Right now, today, someone loves you. Someone wants to talk to you. Someone is reaching for you. Someone is pulling out a chair and asking for your attention. Put down your phone, close your laptop, stop whatever you're doing, look them in the eye, listen, really listen to what they're saying, be there, fully, completely, without reservation or distraction, because I promise you, from the perspective of 94 years and more regret than any human should carry, that moment, that ordinary, unremarkable moment of connection is the only thing that will matter when you're standing where I'm standing. The work you're doing right now, no one will remember it in 5 years. The email you think is urgent, it's not. The meeting you can't miss, you can. The deadline you're worried about, there will be another one next week. But the person in front of you asking for your time, they are finite. The moment they're offering you, it will never come again. The connection you could build right now, it could last a lifetime. Or it could slip away while you're too busy to notice. I wasted my daughter's childhood because I was afraid of not having enough, and now I have everything except what matters. I have money, but no one to spend it on. I have time, but no one to spend it with. I have regrets so heavy I can barely breathe under the weight of them. Don't do what I did. Don't make my mistake. Don't sacrifice your relationships on the altar of responsibility. Don't trade your people for your productivity, because one day, and that day comes faster than you can possibly imagine, you will be old, you will be alone, you will look back at your life and measure it not by what you accomplished, but by who you loved and who loved you back. And if you're not careful, if you don't wake up right now, you'll realize too late that you achieved everything and lost everyone. My name is Eleanor Whitmore. I'm 94 years old. I made a terrible mistake, and I'm begging you not to make the same one. Say yes. Be present. Put down the work. Pick up the relationship before it's too late, before they stop asking, before they're gone. Please. If this story moved you, if it challenged you, if it made you think about your own life and the choices you're making right now, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. These are the conversations we need to have. These are the truths we need to hear before it's too late. Subscribe not for me, but for yourself, for the reminders you need, for the perspective that only comes from people who've already lived long enough to see what matters and what doesn't.